Folks, don't worry, I'm back. And it's Larry here.
And Anthony here.
Oh, it was weird being off for a week.
Well, yeah, it was kind of strange for me as well, because this was the first time I actually had to run the show without you.
And open the show. You sound
and open the show, which is definitely not my forte.
Yeah. I mean, you did. The show was excellent, and I want to thank Josh for helping out. I was away.
Yes, thank you, Josh.
Yeah, I was away I was on a mini vacation in beautiful, scenic, sunny, elaborate Brooklyn, New York. So
elaborate.
I couldn't think of anything else.
I was gonna say that's definitely not one way to describe Brooklyn.
for SummerSlam. So I was away. Josh stepped in, helped out. And Anthony introing the show. It was nothing, not against me. Just I'm so used to hearing the same thing.
Okay, no, I thought you were saying that I was like really terrible.
No, not at all.
Well, see, these are the moments where I'm very thankful that I don't listen back to any of the shows to hear what I sound like, because if it was bad, I'll never know.
What? Exactly. Well, it took you about 30 episodes to find out what our theme song was.
That's very true, and actually it was more like 45. But what I also found interesting, and I was thinking about this yesterday, was that this is the first time, I think, in I want to say 3 or 4 weeks where we're both in our respective setups, because 3 weeks ago I was in Orlando. 2 weeks ago I was with you in person in Long Island, and then last week you weren't here. So
I was just gone.
So it's like, it's like the first time in 4 weeks where it's like you're in your home, I'm in my home, we're doing what we usually do. Although what's usual for me is never normal anyway, because I do this thing from all over the world.
You're jet setting and I'm just setting jets. So
yeah, that's fine. I'll switch with you any day of the week. Right?
But I did 6 trips to the Barclays Center in 5 days. That was my SummerSlam weekend. Yeah,
that's a little bit too much.
It was, trust me, don't get me wrong, I loved every moment of it, but just real quick, and then we'll head forward. It's not that I don't want to do it because of the wrestling. I just can't do the hours. I'm just so old now.
Well, what I find funny is that you were there 6 times in 5 days, and I'm trying to think when I actually worked for WWE, even when I had to, because I would travel to these the SummerSlam weeks and the WrestleMania weeks. I don't even think I was there that many times.
I mean,
I worked there.
2 meet and greets, 4 wrestling shows, one of which were both in the same day. A meet and greet and a show were on the same day. So 3 wrestling belts I had to represent. And some of that you'll hear at you on the better half in next week. So
that's a lot of wrestling. But I do remember the days when we used to do that and not blink.
Absolutely. That's what it is. Again, not the wrestling. It's just the hours. So
it's the hours. Yeah. It's the hours in your age.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely. Even last night, I had to take a nap just to stay up to watch Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather.
Well, that's your loss.
Actually, was a really good fight, to be honest. Worth $100? I don't know.
It was a quote unquote fight. Yes.
What? I'm telling you, if it was like that, the outcome would have been different.
No, the outcome was exactly what it could have been, what it was supposed to be. Because let's face it, everybody was saying that Mayweather was going to kill the guy right at the get-go. So
but he did.
The fact that it even lasted 10 rounds, I think, is a little questionable.
No, it was set for 12, and McGregor lasted for 10. And the ref stopped it. For what it's worth, all joking aside, and I'm not a huge boxing guy, but McGregor held his own, even though he kept fighting like UFC. Like, he kept trying to rabbit punch him in the back of the head. Like, he was looking to set up for, like, a rear naked choke or some sort of, like, German suplex in the boxing ring.
That would have been funny if he just did that.
Oh, it would have been hysterical. I was waiting for it. But all those, even the undercard was pretty good. But all in all, that was fun. But it's weird because, people paid so much money to go to that fight. I'm not talking about at home. I'm talking about to go to the fight. Cheap seats were $500, but the arena wasn't filled up until like halfway through the next to last bout before the main event. It was empty for the opening match.
Because
fight.
let's face it, people don't go there to see the undercard.
It was wild, and it was, and it could have been in Ireland. There was so many Irish there.
They paid a ton of money to see.
They did.
the main event.
They sure did. So, but yeah, so Age is catching up to me, but it is what it is. But this whole show is about going back in time and talking about days of yesteryear. So,
which is what old men do.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Forget about it. Now, before we get into talking about what we want to get into first, this I want to show you, and I mean, you've seen it online and stuff, but now to have it in person, it's way bigger. That's what she said. So on.
Wait, no, see, you can't say that yourself to the line. Like if you say the line, you can't say that's what she said. That's supposed to be my job.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll fix it in post.
And that's what she said.
I picked up Sonic Mania.
Okay.
For the Switch.
And how is it?
Absolutely amazing. It is such a throwback to the original Sonic games. And I know Sonic Generations tried doing that.
Okay.
But this one nailed it. It's an excellent mix of just new graphics, old side-scrolling gameplay. Even a lot of the bonus rounds are there, including that miserable one from Sonic 3 we had to get all the blue spheres.
Yeah.
Oh God, horrible.
Cool. Now, did you just buy the game, or did you buy like the special box set?
You've known me long enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, why did I even ask that question? That's just stupid of me.
You can buy the game itself, which I highly recommend. It's on virtually every platform. I got it for the Switch.
Isn't it just an extra $10 for the?
No, it was like
special.
$30 for the game. I think it's like $70 for the special.
Oh, the game was only $30?
Yeah, game alone is like $30.
Oh, okay, so I know where I'm going today.
Totally. And actually, I got to show you two things from the box. One is on the other side of the room, so I'll get to that in a moment. Actually, let me show that one first. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, while Larry wanders off, I'll just say how funny it is that he sits here and talks about how tired he is all the time because he's old. Oh, sorry, you're back.
So it came with a few. I heard something.
I didn't say anything.
All I heard was old, and I can agree with you. Here's my other thing.
No comment.
Oh man. All right. Well, it came with one other thing which I can't find right now. But bottom line, so it comes now. The game's download only, so it's not a physical copy, even when you get the special edition.
Okay.
So first of all, it comes with a very I can't find it right now. A very cool like metal card. It's like the size of a credit card. It just has like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles on it. It's just a nice little collectible.
Uh-huh.
Then it comes with this. Oh, wait, let me pull this up so I can see what I'm showing you. It comes with a Genesis cartridge. Now, this is a fake cartridge. It won't work. But a Genesis-style cartridge with Sonic Mania logo on it, which is very cool.
Well, but that's not fun if you can't play it.
Yeah, hold on, though. But look what's inside of it. First of all, I like the connectors that are on it.
Yep. But that's just
It's a ring, the Sonic ring.
Oh, my God.
And you just pop it out. It's a Sonic.
It's the closest you're ever going to get to a wedding band.
This was another podcast. I'll tell you what else you could do with it. So I like that. It's kind of a little niche. Here's the reason why the box was so huge. So it also comes with a very cool Sonic statue sitting on top of a Genesis.
Yeah, that's huge.
This was way bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, okay, so I'm definitely not buying that because where the hell would I put that?
I'm trying to figure out where I got to put it. This thing's like...
You have no room left in your home.
It's about a foot tall. It's 12 inches tall.
Yeah, you barely have room, I think, to come into your home.
Honestly, and I cleaned out a lot of stuff. So it looks like the G1 Genesis, and again, just for aesthetic purposes, the volume control does that. But here's what
they should have just given you a Genesis.
They really should have. Here's the cool part when you turn the system on, quote unquote.
I think I know what happens because. Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's kind of cool. I like that.
That's really cool, but I'm not spending an extra $40 on it.
No, I don't. I honestly don't blame you.
I know. I'm like, yeah, I have enough stuff in my house right now, and not to mention the fact that currently, 2 weeks ago when I was in New York with you for the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, I was also there for a second reason, and that was I was packing up the rest of my stuff in New York to ship to LA because when I moved back to New York 3 years ago for the WWE job, I moved everything there. But then when I came back to LA, I didn't take everything back with me. So it's like, eventually I'll figure out a way to get it back. And so I rented one of those pods while I was there 2 weeks ago, loaded that up, and shipped everything over. And now, like, once I put it all together and I saw what was in there, I'm like, I have nowhere to put all this stuff. And I have roughly 2 more weeks until it arrives. So I have about 2 weeks to figure out how to empty my house enough so I can just load it up with more crap.
Why does it take so long to get from New York to California?
I mean, they throw it on the back of a truck, and then I don't know how many stops the truck makes along the way. And it's not necessarily that it needs to take the whole 4 weeks or 3 weeks. They say it's supposed to be like 21 business days.
Okay.
Or is it just 21 days? I don't remember exactly. They promise it within 21 days. And, you know, it can get here sooner. They just like to, give you that.
Of course.
That thing. And I think part of the reason why it takes so long, especially right now, because they say August is a popular month because it's back to school.
That's true. Also, I hope they're not going through Texas.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. It all depends on routes and everything like that, because I'm assuming they didn't go near Texas, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that hurricane kind of sprung up at the last minute, so...
Yeah, it was like, hey, surprise everybody, we're getting a Category 2. Oh, did we say 2? I'm sorry, 4.
Yeah. Surprise.
Good luck.
Yeah, honestly. Wow. Good luck to everyone in Texas. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, really hoping that, everybody is safe. I did hear of one fatality so far,
already?
Which is...
Ooh.
Yeah, which is not good.
Oh.
But, I mean, God, Mother Nature.
All right, welcome to the Retro Gamers.
Yeah, I mean, are we we're not talking...
We give you current events.
So, yeah, I mean, we can talk about Mother Nature in a different way, as in Mother Nintendo and the crap they pulled last week.
And another disaster. Well, before we get into that, with the disaster I had with the Virtual Boy.
Let's go back to the Retro Gaming Expo. Because you bought the ever reviled Virtual Boy.
I did.
And an NES action set.
Yes.
And a PS1.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Because since I wasn't, I mean, and you guys touched on it last week, and you mentioned some good stuff about it. But I guess now coming from
firsthand accounts,
exactly. So here's what we have. You're exactly right. I got
yours.
The NES. I got the NES action set, which was cool. It's the Nintendo 2 controllers, the gray zapper, not even the safety orange zapper. We're talking old school gray zapper that can get you shot in the streets today.
If you go out at night, you'll get shot by the cops zapper.
Exactly. That's how we played when we were little. So I got that set. I got the PS1. That was the last minute. That was because of you. You pointed that one out with the PS1.
Oh, come on. That was a great deal. That really was.
Listen, $30 for a PS1, like the redesigned smaller PS1, and it works like a charm too. Perfect.
Yeah, if I didn't have my original one, I have my original one.
Mm-hmm.
I would have bought that.
Oh, of course. And there's a reason why I say that one works like a charm. So, and then there was the Virtual Boy, which was the end all be all. That was what I was looking for. And
I know, and I did my best to stop you.
Well, God stopped me because he definitely put a damper in the whole thing.
I probably haven't said this in over a decade, but thank you, God.
So here's what we got. Before we get to the Virtual Boy, with the NES works. I hooked it up. It works. They must have put in like a new board or something in there though, because when I go to put the game in, it takes a little bit of a shove to get it in there. To get the game out, I mean, I have to struggle getting I'm struggling to get the cart out of the system. So the connector it is super, super tight. But
okay.
It was work.
Hey,
thank you. There we go. That's how that works.
See, that's how it works.
The system worked, but it started doing that whole, remember when it would start blinking red? Because it was like, so it started doing that after a little bit, every once in a while. Plus, it's got the old, it's the old crappy hookup to it. So I'm still happy with the price I paid for it because I'm probably going to display it more than use it because it doesn't look like it's going to be very reliable. But that's okay. Yep. It's the Virtual Boy. So here's what happens. I go up. The guy and I want to say right now, the Revolution, that was the group I bought the system from. They are top-notch people. They're out in Stony Brook. So if you're in the Stony Brook area, definitely check out the Revolution.
Stony Brook's in Long Island. For those of you who are nowhere near that.
That's right. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm talking local here.
That way you don't go running around trying to find where's Stony Brook in Michigan.
They were top-notch guys. They have an awesome store. So I'm definitely going to take. It's almost like an hour drive for me, but it's well worth for me to go back. And so I buy the Virtual Boy, and I'm like, how much? Guy goes $400. Now it's in box. He goes $400, but I'm willing to negotiate. I'm like, all right. So he's like, throw me out a price. So I say $200. Reason being, I figured we'd bounce back and forth, right? So I start with $200. He goes, sold. I should have went, He just sold this for immediately 50%. Weird. He did tell me, though, he was fair. He did tell me that the stand was cracked, but I can get a new stand. In fact, I had a replacement stand on order before I realized that ultimately the Virtual Boy didn't work. So I hooked it up, ready to go. Plugged it in. Boom, the sound comes on. Gorgeous sound. Sounds beautiful.
Oh, God.
I look in the headset, and I can see something. I think I put in Mario Clash.
If I didn't know how the story was going to end, I'd stop you.
I see the game, and it's working. I'm like, oh, this is sweet. But something looks a little weird. Like, it just doesn't, I don't know, it's odd. So with the Virtual Boy, there's two separate lenses that gives you the 3D effect. So I close my left eye.
Quote 3D effect.
It is. It is a 3D effect. So I close my left eye, and I see all the image in my right eye, in the right lens. I'm like, oh, cool, that works. I close my right eye, and I look in the left lens, and it is blank. Nothing going on. So obviously that one doesn't work.
Nothing going on does sum up exactly what the Virtual Boy is, by the way.
So I was very, very disappointed. But again, I called up the Revolution. I called up the company. They were absolutely top-notch. They apologized for it not working. And for considering the fact that I bought a system at an expo, cash, no receipt, obviously the guy just remembered me because it was less than 24 hours ago. They gave me a full refund. They were apologetic about it, and they didn't have to be as apologetic as they were. So they were just top-notch people. So I got my money back. I returned the Virtual Boy. So the quest continues.
And may the quest continue till the end of your days.
Forever in your favor.
Yes, exactly. Because the longer you don't have a Virtual Boy, the happier I am.
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry, little dig. It's just I don't feel like anybody should be spending money on something so awful.
And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, why hasn't Nintendo ever put out a Virtual Boy, not a mini, but the Virtual Boy virtual console on the 3DS?
Because nobody would use it?
I'm writing to Nintendo. I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to bring back some of these classic games.
You don't have to write to Nintendo right now because enough people are writing to Nintendo for now.
You're not.
But to be honest with you, I'm equally aggravated as everybody else, even though I'm not, okay? But Nintendo's got enough problems. The last thing they really need is to worry about, we need to make Virtual Boy games on the 3DS that nobody will ever buy. But I say we shift gears and we talk about the disaster that was last Tuesday.
Yeah, and I was subject to that as well.
Yes, the disaster of last Tuesday that was the SNES Classic pre-order debacle.
That came out of nowhere.
Oh, my God. And that was probably – there's complaint number one right there. It's like complaint number one. All of a sudden out of nowhere, they're like, pre-orders are going to be available. They don't tell people ahead of time. They just say pre-orders are going to be available. Pre-orders are up. And it's like, what? And then, of course tons of people are like, they want this Super Nintendo Classic. Nintendo announced earlier this year, like, we're not going to make the same mistake we made with the NES Classic. We know we're going to be offering more consoles than we did with the NES Classic. We're also going to be putting it up for pre-order, which they did not do with the NES Classic. So it's like everything sounded like, hey, they're going in the right direction. Great. And then Tuesday happens. and okay, so first and foremost, you've got 6 retailers that are going to be carrying the Classic, and it's so let's see, it's Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, Target, GameStop, and Toys R Us.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so lo and behold, Tuesday comes, and Best Buy goes first. Best Buy puts their pre-orders up at 1:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time without any notice. Like, there's no notice whatsoever that they're up and available. All of a sudden, they just go, and then people all over the place, just obviously who could, jumped on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was sound asleep at that point.
Yeah, I was not, because it was 10:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
my time the night before. Because of the 3-hour time difference. But still, like, if you weren't on the internet at that time and happened to hear that this thing was up, you had no idea what was going on.
Oh, it's nuts.
And apparently they all sold out over about 30 minutes.
Of course. 30 minutes?
Yeah, they said
Wow.
It took about a half an hour.
I'm actually kind of shocked at that. Okay.
Well, I was surprised at that too, but I'm guessing because they were the first ones to go up,
Yeah.
people weren't prepared for it.
Yeah.
But then once word got out that happened, I think then people started getting prepped for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then Amazon put them up at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which would be 2 a.m. my time. So I'm now granted, I mean even 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, a lot of people are sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm like me at 5 a.m. Pacific Time, I'm wide awake and at the gym. But 2 a.m. I'm out cold. So I woke up. I woke up on Tuesday morning. I went to work, and I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden, like, one of my coworkers comes in, and he's also a gamer, and he's like, "Did you hear about the SNES Classic?" I'm like, "No, what happened?" And he told me. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Pre-orders went up in the middle of the night," and of course, and I'm like, "What?"
Oh my god!
Followed by lots of expletives.
I'm sure.
And that was an absolute mess. Because it was like, if you didn't pounce on it, that was it. But once the word got out that those two went up, then all of a sudden everybody's like, okay, well, that means everyone else is going to be putting up the pre-orders. Yeah. So I'm sitting, we're checking my friend and I, or my coworker and I, we're checking all the websites. So I've got Target up, I've got Walmart up, I've got Toys R Us up, I've got GameStop up, I've got them all sitting up like on my screen, and I'm like, okay. Just go back and forth and hit refresh until the pre-order starts. I'm like, fine. But then word came out, like just reading people's Twitter feeds and everything and whatnot. So like I'm looking all this stuff up, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, and then finally somewhere around like 9:15, 9:30, somebody posted on Twitter, pre-sales for the other sites going up at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I'm like, all right, good. I got this.
And that's what you told me. That's when you texted me about it.
Yeah, and then that's when I texted you and said, it's time to lose your job because you got to go online and get your pre-order.
I was already off.
Oh, you weren't home?
I was in Brooklyn.
Oh, you were in Brooklyn.
I was getting ready for summer SmackDown at that point.
Oh, okay. So then, and I'm sure a lot of people, like anybody who's listening and also did the pre-order disaster, will be able to relate to this, because I'm sure we've experienced the same things. So I'm on all the sites, and my friend's like, because we were talking, and I said, well, which site do you think is best? And he's like, stick with GameStop, because GameStop will have the most pre-orders out of all of them. Mm-hmm. It'll have, because like Walmart and Target, because Nintendo is notorious for not giving large quantities out. That's just their MO.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always been their MO.
Oh, yeah.
That's their history. So he's like, okay, so do GameStop, and I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do GameStop. But I was still doing the same thing. I had the four screens open, and I just kept hitting refresh, waiting for the pre-order to hit on one of them. And then 10 o'clock on the dot, I refreshed Walmart. And there it is, and it's available. I'm like, crap. I go, Walmart's got it first. And I screamed to him because he's in the other room. And I'm like, dude, Walmart. And we're so hit the button on Walmart, and I get the pre-order. And then I put it, I had already logged into all the sites, so my information's in there. Like my information's in there. Amazon's the only one that does that one-click ordering thing,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't do that on Walmart's site. So I do the thing and I hit the order, and then all it asks you to do is to put the CVV code in for your credit card, whichever one you have on file.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, fine. So it's like I click the thing. It's like, you run through a couple of screens, put in the CVV code, hit the button, sold out.
Oh God!
Now this is 10 a.m. and 30 seconds.
You sure it's not limited run games you were on?
No, definitely not, and that's a whole other story. But so 10 a.m. and 30 seconds, it's already gone, and I'm like, all right, what the hell just happened? I'm like, because there's no way this thing could be sold out in 30 seconds, and yet it was. So I'm like, fine, forget Walmart. Move on.
Honestly. And meanwhile you're doing all this. Again, I'm like, I've already been like 4 days going back and forth to the Barclays. I am just spent. So I am not getting up early enough. I am not getting out of bed. But you were telling me about it. So like around 1 o'clock, I was like, okay, now I'm on the websites, like around 1. You were telling me about Best Buy Canada. I went on Best Buy Canada.
Yes, Best Buy Canada had it at 1 o'clock too, so I had that screen up too, but that was like my last resort.
I didn't have access to my computer. I was on my phone. Best Buy Canada kept coming up as like a trial site or something. It was weird. I couldn't access Best Buy Canada. So that's what drove me nuts on that. But what was funny is, after about a half hour, like 1:30, 1:45, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm too busy today. I don't want to stress over this like I did the NES Classic. And I still have every intention of going day of to wait online. And that'll be another story for later on.
Yeah.
I saw, though, one of our followers on the Instagram, which let's do a cheap plug-ola while I'm trying to pull it up. Instagram at _retro gamers. Johnny Ruckus, definitely give him a follow. He's pretty cool. Does a lot of cosplay stuff. He posted up his receipt from a physical GameStop that he walked into to pre-order the system. So you were able to pre-order them in store.
Yes.
Now, when I saw this, I crashed at my parents' house in Brooklyn because they live in Brooklyn and not far from the Barclays, and I don't have to pay for a hotel. So I was helping them out. The three of us were out shopping, and I saw this, and I was stuck. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go to a GameStop because I didn't drive. I'm not leaving my parents. And I was in this world of, I need to go home, and I need to go home now because I need to get this. But it just all fell apart at that point for GameStop, at least.
Yeah, and here's the thing with GameStop. So I'm trying to get to that too. So while we were sitting after the Walmart fiasco happened, the next one, at least that went up for me, was Target. And then Target goes up.
Was that the one later on in the afternoon? The one that you told me about?
Which one?
Target. The
what
pre-sale.
About it? Yeah, I'm still talking about the pre-order.
No, because to talk about time frames, this will probably put it into perspective. So, all right, so Walmart, 1 o'clock, that doesn't go through. So now I'm home, and I'm like, all right, I'm not even going to worry about this pre-order. So I take a nap because I'm going to a wrestling show that night. So I take a nap. I'm out for like 2 hours. I wake up at like 3:30, and I check my phone, and ThinkGeek.com posted on Twitter. I see him on Twitter. Congratulations to everyone who was able to pre-order the Super Nintendo. I'm like, what? The tweet before it at like 3 o'clock was like, pre-orders going on sale at ThinkGeek.com for the Super Nintendo Classic. And they did like what they did with the NES Classic. They made a bundle out of it. So it was like $100 and something, but you got some cool stuff with it. But I completely slept through that one. I completely slept through that
because
one.
that one didn't go up until 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 p.m. Eastern. But no, I'm not even there yet. I'm still at 10 a.m. I'm still in 10 a.m.
You know what? You're talking your time. I'm thinking my time.
Yeah, I'm
okay,
sorry.
Never mind.
No, I'm talking 10 a.m. my time.
No, I got you.
Your time.
Okay.
So 10 a.m. 30 seconds. I'm just at the beginning of the story. So I am only 30 seconds in and Walmart's out. Okay. So a few minutes later, I don't know how long, but maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, Target goes up. I'm like, okay. So Target goes up. GameStop at the moment is not happening. So Target goes up. I click it, goes in my cart, do the same exact thing I did on Walmart, where it was put in your CVV code.
Mm-hmm.
Put in my CVV code. I'm sorry, the item is no longer in your cart.
Oh, God.
What? Go back. No longer available.
Oh,
I'm like, okay. I was like, what the hell's going on? But the difference on the Target site, though, was that if you refreshed it, it went from no longer available. It still would say add to cart. So if you press the button, if you press the add to cart button, it would either go in your cart and then like disappear when you tried to order it, or you would press it and it would say, a little pop-up would go, we're sorry, the item's out of stock. But it still had the add to cart button on. Okay? So I'm just setting that. I just want to keep that in your brain as I continue the story. So then we move over to GameStop. Now, GameStop's got an SNES Classic page, like it's just set up specifically. Like set specifically for the SNES Classic. And it's got like an ad and all this stuff. Because I got a text at like 9:55 saying SNES Classic pre-orders I got it at 10:01. It's like SNES pre-orders are up, but they weren't, because on their page there was a very clear. It says pre-order your SNES Classic, like it was supposed to be a link.
Yeah.
But there was no link. You couldn't
you
click the link. So I'm like, okay. So that wasn't working. Which then left Toys R Us, which nothing was going on. Like there wasn't even a page for the Classic. So now I'm not getting anything on GameStop, which is at this point the last option. Yeah. So I call a GameStop by me, and they had opened at 10 o'clock, and it's like 10:15, and I'm like, hey, I'm just calling to see, are you taking pre-orders for the SNES Classic? And the guy on the phone was like, no, I'm sorry, we don't, we haven't been told that we can do that yet. I'm like, okay. I go, that doesn't make any sense. And then at this point, like my coworker and I were going back and forth. It's like, did you get anything? No. Did you get anything? No. So then I start doing Google searches in terms of like what's going on with the Classic to see if who's tweeting what and whatnot. And then I'm reading up something like, and then I start reading something about GameStop's taking it in person.
Yes.
Taking the pre-orders in person. So then I call a different GameStop near me, and I call them and I said, hey, are you guys taking pre-orders? They're like, oh, yeah, you just have to come in person. Just show up and you can get your pre-order in. I'm like, okay, great. I was like, problem being, it's 10:30 in the morning and it's a Tuesday. I'm at work.
Oh.
So,
boss, I need to take a 15.
Now, granted, like I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, here's where I start to question my moral code, and I'm like, I could maybe get to a GameStop really quickly.
I don't feel good. I need to go home.
I don't. So I turned to my coworker and I'm like, dude, they're taking pre-orders in person at GameStops. I'm like, that might be our only chance. And he's like, and we're literally looking at each other debating. It's like, but then at the end of the day, we decided not to do it, because we're like, all right, we're at work. I'm like, I'm not jeopardizing my job for this stupid thing. Okay, so, and then best decision we made anyway, because once word got out, you can get the pre-order in person. Like, we heard stories and we read stories online of like 100 people.
Oh yeah,
100 plus people lined up at GameStops, and then GameStop pre-orders. Like, I heard some stores, like people were tweeting that some stores were giving out 8.
Yeah, the
eight
one
pre-orders.
One by me had 10.
Yeah. So if you weren't those 8 or 10 people in line, you weren't getting a pre-order there anyway. So it would have been a waste of our time to even get over there by like, even by 11 o'clock, because at that point, I'm sure they were all gone. So that's that mess. So now the day goes on. GameStop's website is still not working. I was like, but then on their app, they started, I think this was around noon when the ThinkGeek thing started. So 3 p.m. Eastern, ThinkGeek puts up these puts up these bundles like they did with the NES Classic a few months ago, and the cheapest one was like $100. That's great. Or 100. I'm sorry.
It was like 130 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, $130. So I find out about these like maybe like 1205 or 305 or whatever. So I go on ThinkGeek's website. They're already gone.
Yeah.
All of them. So I'm like, all right, well, that ends that. And then in the meanwhile, and so imagine this is like going through my whole day. Like I'm working, and while I'm working, I've got like two screens going. I've got like my work screen going, and then here I am looking up all the SNES Classic stuff. I really hope my boss doesn't listen to this. So now we're at ThinkGeek is sold out, and I'm like, okay, what else is going on? So I just go over to eBay for fun, because I'm like, I guarantee you, most of the people who are doing they're going to be reselling it. And sure enough, if you go on eBay, people are already posting their pre-orders up, and basically, hey, if you want an SNES Classic, guaranteed, and they're showing their pre-order receipts or whatever to prove that they have it.
Yeah.
And then price range from $300 to $500.
Oh my God. Already.
Right. So there's my disgust. Meanwhile, I'm still bouncing back to the Target site, because the Target site is the only one now that has the add to cart button. Mm-hmm. And then my friend tells me, go on the GameStop app, because it's on the app. So I go on the GameStop app, and sure enough, on the GameStop app, GameStop's got the classic bundles. They did bundles too.
Oh, did they?
But,
okay.
Yeah, but their bundles ranged down to $100. It was like from $100 to $190. And actually, the bundles they had were pretty cool, because one of them came with the hardcover SNES Classic book.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yes.
Playing with PowerBook, which I wanted to buy anyway. Mm-hmm. So I was like, and then it came with two controllers. Some of them came with wireless controllers and all this stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, these bundles, these I can deal with, because they're at least related. ThinkGeek had weird stuff with their bundles. So it was like, here, get a Tetris lamp with your SNES Classic. I'm like, I don't want a Tetris lamp. I'm like, so then I try to order those bundles, and the app was just nuts. Like, you could get the bundle in your cart, but then when you tried to process it, it would crash, and you had to go back. Just wasn't working. So then I go on the GameStop page, and I see the bundles on the GameStop page, and that's if you can get on the GameStop site, because the GameStop site crashed.
Sounds about right.
You would go to GameStop.com, and they would actually have they just had a screen up that said, "We're sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties," and then they pointed you to ThinkGeek.
Yeah, because they own them. Yeah,
right, and ThinkGeek was working.
Yep.
So then the GameStop site was down. So so I was just hitting the refresh button to try and get through, and eventually I got through, and I got a bundle in my cart.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh great! I was like, I got a bundle in my cart. I think it was the 190, the most expensive one, of course. But still, I got one in my cart, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Get all the way through to PayPal, because I could not get the credit card one to order, but it put you through to PayPal to do a PayPal order. So I'm like, great. I was like, got me through the PayPal, put all the information in, hit complete order. Time's out. Go back.
Oh my God.
Go back. Complete order. The authorization error screen comes up. Did that repeatedly for about like 45 minutes.
Oh my God.
Could not get it. At that point, F you GameStop. Didn't know what else to do with that. So now just for time's sake, in terms of like what the day is, like now at this point, it's like almost 2:00 in the afternoon. So this is like 4 hours.
Yeah. This is a long committed day.
Yeah. So this is like 4 hours of nonstop, aggravation. So then I give up on GameStop, and I'm like, okay. I was like, the only thing left that's semi-working is Target, because you can hit that add to cart button. Sometimes it would add it, and then while it's in your cart, it's saying it's no longer available. Sometimes it says it's out of stock. And I'm like, at this point, I'm just assuming it's just not working. Mm-hmm. Like it's just, they've already sold all their pre-orders. It's not going to happen. But I'm being stubborn, because I'm like, you know what, screw you. I'm not going. Like, it took me 9 months to get an NES Classic. I want this and SNES Classic, so I keep hitting. Every so often I keep going back to the screen to hit the add to cart button, because I'm like, maybe it'll work one day, or at some point. So I get it. So then, I don't know. This was like 2:30 in the afternoon at this point. So now we're talking 4.5 hours in, or and gets in my card. I put the CVV code in and I click the button, and then it starts to spool. Uh-oh. And I'm like, I'm just like, it's going to crash, like it was doing before, or it'll go back to the other screen saying it's out of stock or whatever. But no, the pre-order goes through.
Oh.
So.
Huzzah. And then, like, are you sitting there waiting, going, there's got to be something wrong with this. I'm going to get a follow-up email.
No. Like, so the pre-order goes through, and then I'm staring at it, like, no. I go, that did not just happen. I go, because it's 4.5 hours after they went up. Surely these have to be gone.
Yeah.
I was like, but lo and behold, I got an order number.
Wow.
I got an email confirmation, and I printed it out so I have proof, and they don't like, because literally the first thing in my brain is like, they're gonna erase this ever happened because it's been so long. They're gonna erase this ever happened and say I never got an order through. So I printed out the order confirmation number, so I had proof and everything. But then after I had pre-ordered it, I went online to see what's going on, and then I read something where somebody was saying, Target site is messing up, but some people are saying they're getting a pre-order through. So that's when I was like, so this is legit. So, but even though it was legit, make no mistake, I checked Target's website probably 5 times that day just to make sure my order was still there. Because I'm like, this can't be right. I go, they're going to cancel them like Walmart did, and I'm going to be screwed. But I still have the pre-order. It's still there. Okay. Almost a week later, so I got my pre-order in for SNES Classic. However, there were a lot of people who did not, and for everybody who's complaining, they have every right to. Because I'll be honest with you, I just based on the description of what my day was to get this thing, nobody in the world should have to go through something like this to get a pre-order in for a console. Just period. I'm sorry, Nintendo does this all the time, and we're all fools because we go for it every
absolutely.
Time. And then on top of that, I'm reading articles online on why did Walmart sell out in like 5 seconds? Because there was no reason for me to not get it at 10 o'clock on the dot because I had it in my cart.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason for it to disappear 30 seconds later. And the response was online, people were buying bots.
Yeah, like $130 too.
People were buying bots for like $110, and basically the bot, as soon as a pre-order went up online, it didn't matter what site it was on. Like it was just programmed to hit all of the major retailer sites. As soon as it went online, it automatically pre-ordered it for you in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was. Which apparently they also used the same thing on the NES Classic.
Right. So the people who spent the $110 on bots more than likely not only got one pre-order in, but multiple pre-orders in from each site.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of that.
So they got at least one pre-order in from every site.
And those are the scalpers.
Yeah, and that's exactly if you're spending $110 on a bot, chances are you're doing that because you're going to resell it.
Absolutely.
And Target and Walmart and all these, they're all aware of it. Like they even came out and said, we're aware of the bots. They just haven't been able to find a way to counter them.
Yeah.
So they don't know, like they can't stop them from doing it. So if you invested $110, well, I mean, if you think about it as a regular consumer, if you spent the $110 on the bot and then you spent the $80 on the Classic, even if you just got one with the bot, it's still going to be cheaper than the markup prices on eBay.
Oh, absolutely.
So you spent $180 on it
absolutely.
Instead of what's going to be $300 or more. So it does work out for you. But at the same time, it's like, everybody, people are cheating the system to get this pre-order in, and it's highly unfair. And to your point, a lot of them are probably going to be scalpers.
Yeah.
Now, something I left off just to finish my story is Toys R Us.
Yes, now, they're doing it good.
Throughout the whole day, Toys R Us is being very silent. They're not putting it up. And then finally somebody posted on Twitter a response from Toys R Us because they had written to them, when are you putting the pre-orders up? Toys R Us's response, we're not.
There you go, simple.
We're not doing pre-orders. You can show up at the stores on September 29th and buy it, which, to be perfectly honest with you, I think was probably the best way to go.
Oh, totally.
Because this was a complete disaster.
Totally. Absolutely. God help us if they make an N64 Classic.
Well, what's funny is that one of my favorite tweets that I saw was from somebody, and I was trying to find it, but he basically said he's like I didn't spend the day trying to get the classic pre-order, the SNES Classic pre-ordered. I just spent the day lamenting the loss of the N64 Classic.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
he said something like that. That just made me laugh. I'm like, yep. I was like, you know what? That's about right.
And you know what? My story is very, very short because you told me about Target, and it kind of happened with me. I actually had it in my, cart. And I did the whole thing like what happened with you on the other sites. Just for some reason, I moved forward, and it said not available. But I only tried it like once. I was like, I'm not dealing with this. I don't know. For some reason in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to put up the fight with pre-orders for this Super Nintendo Classic. I'll line up. I'll go early. I already took the day off. I'll line up somewhere September 29th. I'll get there early. I'll probably get there super early. And I'll kind of do it old school. But the pre-orders, I'm just not going to fight with. So
yeah. No, and you know what? You're absolutely right. Like, to be honest with you, like what I wound up doing was almost not worth all the hassle. Now, granted, I'm happy I have my pre-order, so I don't have to worry about it on September 29th.
Mm-hmm.
Odds are I may wind up getting in line on September 29th anyway to get another one. And I'll say this very clearly, not to resell it, but to have another one either for a gift for somebody or for somebody I know who does not get one and really wants one. I can at least get it for them.
Totally.
Totally. I'll pay it forward. The same way I did with the NES Classic when I picked it up a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome, Frankie. But yeah, so the best way to get this is going to be doing it in person. Now, Nintendo has an opportunity here that I'm sure they're not going to take advantage of. They have an opportunity to make this right by making enough consoles for a launch date.
Honestly.
However, I am not expecting it whatsoever.
No, not at all.
No, I'm expecting stores will get their 20, 30, or 40 copies, and that'll be it.
They say, Nintendo has said, there'll be enough to sell through the rest of the year. They don't plan on selling this in 2018, which is fine. It's fine that it's a limited edition, but, there's one thing to have enough stock to last you the rest of the year versus to last you till, 8:05 a.m. on September 29th.
Yeah, but at this point, how do you even trust them?
You're right. And that's kind of the chance we're all going to take come September 29th, when most of us will be lining up for a Super Nintendo Classic just to say we finally got one, and really just to play Star Fox 2. So let's face it.
Yep, $80 for one game.
There you go. And that, well, the journey
that saga's over.
Honestly, the journey continues, folks, with the Super Nintendo Classic, and stay tuned because I'm sure we're gonna have some good stories coming up in about a month. So we will see what happens. All right, we're back for this week's wacky retro games, and I quite liked last week's Mr. Mosquito.
Oh, you liked Mr. Mosquito? Did you buy it?
Not yet. I have to scour eBay.
Well, I love scouring the internet and looking up information for really weird games. So I really do like this short segment. So this week's wacky retro game I stumbled upon is for the PlayStation 1. And the title of the game is LSD Dream Emulator.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
It was released in Japan only.
That's what I figured. All right.
It was released October 22nd, 1998.
Oh.
And in the game, in LSD Dream Emulator, the player navigates through a dream world. The idea is basically to walk around and explore things in the dream environment. If you bump into walls or other objects in the game, you get transported to another environment instantaneously through a system called linking.
Oh, gosh.
So bumping into people, animals, or different objects results in some type of surreal experience.
Sounds terrible.
Now, yes. So obviously, your first thought is, okay, based on the title of the game, it's like, okay, why would somebody make a game that's about, tripping on drugs? Because it's called LSD. However, that was not the intent of the game, supposedly. So the game is based on a dream journal that an artist at Asmic Ace Entertainment, they're the ones that published this, it's based on a dream journal that this artist had been keeping for a decade. Even though the game obviously references a drug, LSD, and its psychological effects. The argument from the artist was that the title of the game is actually an acronym for things that happen in the game. So in other words, in the game, LSD stands for in life, the sensuous dream for one level.
Okay.
In another level, it's in limbo, the silent dream. But let's face it, it's about drugs.
Absolutely.
There's no question whatsoever. This game is about, this is what it's like to be tripping on LSD. I don't care what anybody says. If you look at the visuals or any video from this game, you cannot convince me otherwise. His dreams, I don't think the artist realizes it, but his dreams were when he was wide awake and tripping on drugs. So sorry. Thank you very much, Hiroku Nishikawa, for letting us know you were a drug addict in the 90s and created a game, LSD, the Dream Emulator. This is this week's Wacky Retro Game.
Boy, with all this talk about the Super Nintendo Classic, one of the games on there is probably one of the best racing games that I think a lot of people weren't expecting to take off and be as dominant in the gaming world as it is currently.
No, you are absolutely right, because wow, Larry, this second week in a row, man, I feel like I'm doing most of the talking, and I can get used to this.
Am I going to be your Ed McMahon to your Johnny Carson?
No, you're just not that funny.
Actually, not hoo-ah, hey-oh. I screwed that up.
Yeah,
all right.
So,
anyway.
Yeah, well, see, case in point made.
Hey-oh.
Right. There you go. Nicely done. So, I mean, I was trying to figure out a thing to do for Retro Spotlight this week, and then while I was doing my research for This Week in Gaming, it was pretty easy to pick out my Retro Spotlight. Also ties into the Nintendo World Championship, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But we are celebrating this week the 25th anniversary of Super Mario Kart.
Wow, 25 years? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's been 25 years. It's been 25 years since the first Super Mario Kart came out. So happy 25th anniversary, Super Mario Kart. And I thought that would be the perfect game to spotlight on this week's Retro Spotlight.
Absolutely.
Now, this is not, and considering we've talked quite a bit about the Super Nintendo already, but complaining about it in terms of the classic meltdown, I thought we'd have a little bit of a positive discussion about something on the Super Nintendo, and Super Mario Kart's the perfect one to do that. So this week's Retro Spotlight is the original Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, which was released in Japan on August 27th, 1992, which is today.
Yeah, as a recording.
We're recording today on the 25th anniversary of Super Mario Kart.
Sweet.
It was released in the U.S. on September 1st, 1992.
Okay.
And then those poor folks over in Europe had to wait until January 21st, 1993. Sorry, guys. By the time you guys had it, we had already mastered the game.
Honestly.
Developed and published by Nintendo, of course. So Super Mario Kart was produced by the one and only Shigeru Miyamoto, who created some of the greatest games ever made on the Nintendo.
Genius.
Yep. And it was directed by, I always love reading about video game directors because most people think in terms of film, where you're like, oh, film directors. What's a video game director? Tough job. So it was directed by two people, Tadashi Sugiyama and Hideki Kono.
Sure.
So Miyamoto had said when they first started developing this that the development team originally set out to produce a game capable of displaying two players on the same game screen simultaneously.
Split screen.
That was right. Well, right, but that was their goal.
Oh.
Their goal was not to create a racing game. They were just trying to create a game where you can see both players on the screen simultaneously. it came out later that they decided that later they had decided this would be cool for a racing game. So they had stated they wanted to create eventually they said they wanted to create a 2-player racing game in contrast to the single-player game that they already had out on the Super Nintendo, which was F-Zero. F-Zero was one player only. You couldn't do 2-player.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that came first. F-Zero came first, and then they wanted to do a 2-player. So so what they did was they created 2 carts, like 2 go-karts on the screen, just to try and work out the mechanics of doing them simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And then while they were doing that, they had decided, oh, what could be kind of cool? Is there a way that we can do this in a racing form? Because they were only just testing how to get these two things.
Kind of working out the bugs.
Right. They were just working out mechanics, and they thought that go-karts would be a good way to work out the mechanics. So the game originally did not start out as a Mario game. When they first decided that they were going to do a kart game. The first prototype of the game just featured a generic man wearing overalls sitting in the cart.
Mario.
It wasn't Mario. It was just a person.
Yeah.
Person sitting in a cart. And then they decided to put the Mario characters in about 2 or 3 months later after they were developing this. And then due to the limitations of the Super Nintendo hardware, and because they were focusing more on multiplayer for Super Mario Kart, the tracks that they created for the game were not allowed to be as elaborate as F-Zero. Because if you play the F-Zero game, the tracks are pretty elaborate. They've got a lot of stuff going on. They couldn't do that in Mario Kart because they wanted to do they thought the multiplayer thing was going to be the focus for this game. Okay. Now, the cool thing about Super Mario Kart was that it used what Super Nintendo called Mode 7 graphics.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Now, Mode 7 graphics was a new thing that they invented, and you first saw it in F-Zero. So Mode 7 is a form of texture mapping that allowed the plane that you were on to be rotated and scaled freely. So it gives you like a pseudo 3D appearance.
Okay.
So... And the reason why it was called Mode 7 is because there were 7 layers to the texture mapping, and that 7th layer was the one that allowed you to rotate and scale the screen.
Gotcha.
Which gave you that that 3D. Huh. So games on the Super Nintendo that use the Mode 7 graphics are basically pretty much all of the best games ever made on the system. So we're talking F-Zero, Pilot Wings, Super Castlevania 4.
Yes.
Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, Super Mario World, Super Mario RPG, Super Metroid, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Think of all the great games on the Super Nintendo. They more or less use these Mode 7 graphics.
Wow.
Okay. So and as most of us know, or as some of us know who follow the Mario Kart series or a retro game, Super Mario Kart has been credited, and rightfully so, with inventing the kart racing subgenre of video games.
Yeah.
There were no go-kart racing games beforehand. You had your Rad Races and your RC Pro-Ams and things like that. And you even had your F-Zeros where you were piloting like little ships and things like that. But Super Mario Kart invented the kart racing genre, and it didn't really take very long for other people to start replicating it. I think it was about 2 years later, in '94, when Sega came out with Sonic Drift.
Oh, it was that quick for Sonic Drift? Yeah. Okay, I thought maybe the Crash Bandicoot one came out first.
Huh. No, I think Sonic Drift came out before Crash. Crash was
that was PlayStation and much later, but I didn't realize.
No, Sonic Drift came out for Genesis.
Yeah.
And then you had other games like Street Racer, Wacky Wheels, South Park Rally.
Oh God.
Konami Crazy Racers. Diddy Kong Racing.
Yep.
If you remember that. So like a whole bunch of Super Mario Kart games or kart games came out after the huge success of Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart is also credited as being the first non-platform game to feature multiple playable characters from the Mario franchise.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
So before that, all of these characters existed. Like Mario, you could play Mario in, Super Mario Brothers.
They all stayed in their own worlds.
Right. They all existed solo. They never existed playing together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, after the success of Super Mario Kart, other games were just eventually going to follow. So, I mean, you can name any sport, any type of sport, and they've done a Mario Universe version.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Where all the characters are involved. And then, of course, the two other very successful franchises that came thanks to the birth of Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers and Mario Party, where all the characters are playable against each other.
Yep.
So,
wow,
Super Mario Kart
spawned a lot of stuff.
Yes. And I'm sure that, they didn't realize that at the time, but, that's what happens when you create a game that becomes a phenomenon. So sales for the Super Mario Kart game were, of course, amazing. 8.76 million copies sold worldwide.
Wow.
It was the fourth largest selling game on the Super Nintendo in history.
Wow.
So, fourth best selling game of all time, and it's in great company too, because the three ahead of them: Super Mario World, Super Mario All Stars, and Donkey Kong Country.
Really, I would have thought Zelda would be in there. Okay.
No, Zelda's 7th.
Wow.
Yeah. Zelda is number 7. I think we forget how impactful and popular Donkey Kong Country was.
Oh, it was amazing. Those graphics were phenomenal.
Yeah, because all three of those games are in the top 10 for best-selling Super Nintendo games. 8.76 million, nothing to sneeze at.
Absolutely not.
Okay, and of course, things. The accolades for this game were just off the charts. Review scores for Super Mario Kart ranged between an 8.5 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
So
Nice.
you did not find any bad reviews for this game. IGN at different points in their history have listed Super Mario Kart as the 15th best game of all time, and then a few years later dropped it to the 37th best game of all time, but always sitting in that top 100. Edge had listed it as 14 on the top 100 games of all time. Nintendo Magazine listed it 13th of the top 100 games of all time, which I'm sure we're all Nintendo. But interesting thing, the Guinness Book of World Records, not the video game version, but the Guinness Book of World Records,
the actual book.
Yeah, the actual book ranks Super Mario Kart at number 1 on a list of the top 50 console games of all time based on initial impact and lasting legacy.
Wow. Okay,
so,
that's cool.
So they basically list this game as the most influential video game of all time. And on top of that, they have 6 other records in there for them, including first console kart racing game, longest running kart racing franchise, because 25 years later they're still making them.
Yeah, man.
And best selling racing game. So
okay.
All right. And now some, and then I always like looking at the fun facts of games. Probably things you know but don't realize, or maybe things you don't. So for Super Mario Kart, this is just for Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, or related to it. So Super Mario. This is the only game in the Mario Kart series that has a 2-player maximum for multiplayer. All the other versions have 4 or 8 multiplayer. This one's the only one that has 2. Now, have you ever played Mario Kart Super Circuit?
Yes, on the Advance. No.
Yes.
Yeah, on the Advance. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Mario Kart Super Circuit, all the tracks from the original Super Mario Kart can be unlocked.
Yes.
No, and they're known as extra tracks.
Those are cool.
Yep. This is the only Mario Kart game on which the cup courses, because there are different cups. There's Mushroom Cup, Flower Cup, and there are different. And then there are tracks for each cup race, each cup that you go for. So this is the only Mario Kart game in which the cups have 5 courses instead of 4.
Oh, wow! I never realized that.
Yeah,
okay.
all the other Mario Karts that came out after this one only have 4 tracks for a cup. This one's got 5.
Huh.
Okay. This is the only Mario Kart game where Donkey Kong and Wario do not appear as playable characters.
Okay. I don't even think Wario was around, probably.
I don't think he was either. And this is also the only Mario Kart game in which Donkey Kong Jr. is a playable character.
DK Jr. is not in any of the game?
Nope. This was the last game. I think the character ever.
Wow.
After that, Donkey Kong kind of took his place.
And if anything, Diddy Kong would have pushed him out of the way.
Well, and they said that too. Once Diddy Kong was created, he took over for Donkey Kong Jr.
Poor DK Jr. Yep. Everyone play a quick game of Donkey Kong Jr. in memory.
Yep. So Donkey Kong Jr. last time he was ever in a game, and because of game storage limitations for the first Super Mario Kart, both Mario and Luigi share the same body textures. All they did was change the color palette on them to show they were different characters, and then their faces have distinct tiles. But outside of that, like, their bodies are the same, which is not true because we all know Luigi's taller than Mario
and thinner, yeah,
and thinner. The original Japanese version of Super Mario Kart, because they always have something different in the Japanese versions.
Oh, of course.
The original Japanese version of the game features Peach and Bowser drinking from a champagne bottle on the podium at the end of the cups.
Yes.
So, if they win. But due to alcohol consumption policies running around, in our neck of the woods, that ending was removed from the American and European versions of the game. So when you win with them in our version, in the U.S. version, Peach throws a champagne bottle in the air, and then Bowser's just holding it. He doesn't drink. But we all know what he's going to do after.
Oh, of course. He'll bash someone in the head with it.
Alcoholic. And then a few other things. There have only been 6 characters that have existed in every single Mario Kart franchise going back to the first one. Can you name them?
Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, Toad, Koopa? I mean, Koopa Troopa?
No, close.
Oh.
You got 5 out of 6. Yoshi was the 6th one.
Oh. Who did it?
Well, no, those are the 6. Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, Toad, and Yoshi have been in every Mario Kart.
Okay, gotcha.
They've been in every Mario Kart game. Now, did you also know that in the original Super Mario Kart, Lakitu, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Lakitu. The yellow guy with the turtle shell. He's
Laiku,
the one with the,
I guess.
Yeah, Lakitu. Yeah. He owns all of the racetracks in Super Mario Kart.
Does he really?
Yep. In the original instruction booklet for the game, Lakitu greets the players, letting them know that he runs this track. So,
that's awesome.
So he's actually the owner. Did you also know that Super Mario Kart is actually played in Dinosaur Land, which is the same universe as Super Mario World?
Really?
Yes.
I can, now that you mention it, I can see that, especially because it was all on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, so Super Mario Kart borrowed courses from the Super Mario World game and made courses based off of the Super Mario World game. So I thought that was that was something cool. I never knew. Just a couple other things and I'm done. The manual of the original Super Mario Kart, just so you know, encouraged players to cheat in order to win. Specifically in the handbook for battle mode, the handbook actually advises you to look at your opponent's screen to know where they are, so you can beat them.
Well, how are you not going to say that? I mean, it's on the same screen. It's like,
yeah. At least for the console versions, right? For Super Nintendo, of course.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, in the Mario Kart series overall, going back to the first one, there is a Rainbow Road course in every single version of the game.
Yes.
Every Mario Kart that's ever come out has a Rainbow Road.
Yep. It's such a pain in the butt level.
Yep. And that is this week's Retro Spotlight on Super Mario Kart. Happy anniversary, 25 years of Super Mario Kart.
Here we go!
All right, Larry, I've been doing too much talking. Why don't you tell everybody what the cheat of the week is this time?
I'd be more than happy to. I'll give you a little bit of a break here. So this week's cheat of the week is going to be with Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo, and it's how to unlock the special cup on time trial and 2-player match mode. If you're lazy enough and you don't want to wait to unlock it on your own throughout the game, you can jump ahead, and here's how you do it. Pretty much, you go to time trial or 2-player match race. You're going to put the cursor on the mushroom cup, and these are the buttons you're going to press. LR, LR, LL, RRA. Do you need me to repeat that?
No.
Okay. If you haven't unlocked Special Cup already, it's now going to be available. You jump right into the Special Cup with levels that are just very annoying to play, but very difficult, but that's what makes the game tremendous. So that is your Cheat of the Week. Well, this week should be probably labeled Anthony's story, because Anthony's been busy this last week with a lot of retro gaming stuff. And this is the biggest story of all. This was really cool that you got to do the Nintendo World Championships.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
the qualifiers.
Yeah, the qualifier. But, I mean, it was really cool because, like, you know, we dedicated an episode at one point not too long ago about the Nintendo World Championships back in 1990 that we both attended separately before we knew each other. Yeah. And we had talked about the return of this a few weeks ago because, you know, Nintendo had announced it. And yesterday, I don't know exactly what I was doing, but I had brought my car in to get its regular service. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting in the waiting room because it takes a couple of hours. I was sitting in the waiting room playing Zelda on my Switch. And then I don't know what I was doing. I honestly don't remember exactly how it came up, but I went on my phone and I was on the internet, and then all of a sudden I realized, I'm sorry. I do remember. I got an email from Nintendo. This week. And it had prompted me first off to like want to, you know, curse them out for what they did on Tuesday to me for the SNES and the SNES Classic. That
yeah, you didn't have to say it twice. I heard it the first time.
I love calling it the SNES Classic. But so in their email, you know, they've got they have, you know, different stuff. They talk about how the 2DS is out and you can get it for $80 and all this other stuff. And then, you know,
that email. I know which one you're talking about. I got
the Nintendo, and then it says in other news, you know, join the fun and watch fans compete for, you know, in the Nintendo World Championship on October 7th. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And there were qualifiers going on because we had talked about how you were going to miss the qualifier in New York last week because you were going to be doing SummerSlam stuff.
And that's where my priorities lie.
And that right. And so just so let the record show to our listeners that the retro gamers come second in Larry's life. Wrestling is first. I, on the other hand, put retro gamers first above everything else. Just so you know.
That's why he keeps going to Japan.
That's why when I travel to Japan and there is a 14-hour time difference between where Larry is and where I am, I will be up at 1 o'clock in the morning recording episodes of the Retro Gamers to make sure that we have this each and every week. Larry, on the other hand, is too busy going and watch wrestling.
My heart bleeds.
No, I'm just kidding, Larry. We know how much you love the Retro Gamers.
That is my number one podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
On the more of the same network.
Right. Start treating it like number one instead of number two.
Wait till you hear about the new episode coming out. New show.
So yes, I've heard warnings. So I went through my email and I remembered I had this email and it's like, oh, Nintendo World Championships. I was like, I knew there were qualifying matches and you had missed last week's. So I was like, I wonder when they're going to be in LA because I probably looked weeks ago and completely forgot.
Of course.
So then, you know, I look and it was like, oh, the qualifier in LA is today and tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, August 26th and 27th. I was like, I'm in LA this weekend. I'm not traveling for work. Oh, I have nothing to do after my car is done being serviced. So I guess I know what's going on with me today. So I packed up, you know, I got my car and then jumped in my car and drove straight down to Best Buy in Torrance, California.
Oh, okay.
To take part in the Nintendo World Championship. Just in terms of geography here in LA. So I'm up in Glendale, which is a little north of LA, just right over the hill. So Torrance, California is about a 45-minute drive from where I live.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I mean, not too far.
That would have been the same for me because mine was in the Bronx. So.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's it's about 20, maybe like 25 miles away from where I live. So not too bad. In LA traffic, it would have taken like 2.5 hours, but that's a different story. So drive down to Torrance, California. I'm like, hey, let's so the Nintendo World Championship qualifier was going on Saturday, Sunday. And basically, anybody can sign up and play. It's free. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything to qualify. So get down there. An hour. This was about an hour after it had started because it started at 10 a.m. I got there at about 11. And I was actually like pleasantly surprised that I was like, oh, the lines aren't really that long at all. I'm assuming somebody online who, when I got in line, somebody told me, yeah, like at 10 o'clock when it first opened, the line was a lot longer. Now it's shorter. It got shorter. So walk up. There's a tent. There's like one of those little tents that has a Nintendo World Championship. Nothing big, nothing fancy. No. Because it was taking place inside a Best Buy store, and the Best Buy store was open for business.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it wasn't closed just for this because it didn't take up that much real estate when you got inside.
Okay.
So the pre-qualifying round, they had two different ones. So, and like I said, the lines weren't very long. But the issue with the line is it was going so slow.
That's right.
There were two people under the tent, and you just had to fill out a basic form with like your name, phone number, and email, and sign it. And then they gave you a little card for the qualifier where they would log your scores. Okay. Honestly, it's like a 60-second endeavor. They run through a little bit of information in terms of the rules. So maybe, all right, so let's say I'm giving benefit of the doubt, 90 seconds to 2 minutes. That's all you should spend on a person. We're literally standing there not moving for like 10 minutes at a time. And I'm like, what is taking so long to explain? I don't understand.
Yeah, right.
What's taking so long? So probably I want to say maybe there were 50 people in front of me.
All practicing, it looks like.
Yeah, most of them had their 2DSs out because the qualifying game was Mario Kart 7.
There you go.
Now I've told this story on the podcast numerous times that I never owned handheld systems because I always had a problem with the small screens. So I've never played Mario Kart 7.
Missing out. Good game.
Right. So, but I wasn't expecting to go in anyway and beat, and become the leader on the board. So I wasn't expecting to win. I wanted to go down for the experience because
of course.
Nostalgia, did it in 1990, had so much fun. I was like, hey, let's do this. Waited in line for an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Waited in line for an hour just to get up to the front to qualify, to fill out the form.
Yeah.
Now, when he got to the front of the line, there were two lines. I'm gonna share these images on Facebook that I took. But there was a guy who had this really cool Super Mario all over print button-down shirt.
That is an awesome shirt.
I gotta say, he definitely won the day. So for the qualifier for ages 13 and older, you were playing Mario Kart 7 Time Trial, Standard Kart, Standard Wheels with Super Glider. And the track you were playing was Bowser's Castle 1 as Bowser. That was all you could do. You could not pick who you were going to be. You had to play.
Fair enough. And that's the Game Boy Advance version, Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, the
Mario Kart 7 incorporated a lot of other games.
Right. So it's the Game Boy Advance Bowser's Castle. And obviously it makes sense because they want to keep it fair.
Of course.
So if you were 12 and under, it was you were playing Mario, and I think it was like Mario's Castle or Mario, like
an easier kart.
A Mario level. I forgot what Mario level. I didn't care because I'm over 13. So I was like, I was more concerned about what I had to do. So I fill out the form. I get my lovely wristband with my number on it.
Nice.
Now, you were allowed to play the qualifier. The qualifier consisted of you played 2 races.
Okay.
And they recorded your times, and then that was it. You were done.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to play again, you had to get back in line and get another bracelet. They give you a bracelet for it. So I'm standing there, and it's like, well, the line for kids was shorter.
Yeah.
So like I'm looking over like this. I'm getting my first bracelet. I'm looking over at the kids line, and there's a kid with like 5 bracelets on his arm because you get a bracelet for every qualifier you play. I'm like, the kids are just cycling through it like crazy. I go, in the adults, it's like I'm standing there forever just to get like one bracelet. So then they give you the bracelet, and then they give you the, if they had the set of rules, which I took a copy of.
Okay.
So basically,
cool.
so they basically explain like all the rules of like what the staff member, the scorekeeper is going to do when you play and everything like that. And then Best Buy actually had like little flyers for it,
of
so
course,
I took some of those.
Very cool. Very cool.
I can send you copies.
I like it
because I grabbed a few. Did I grab more than one of the? Yes, I did. Okay, So then I get the bracelet. I get my little card, which I have here somewhere. A little card that's got your name and your wristband number and all that stuff, right?
Did you write that?
So, no, they did.
Okay, because it looks like it was filled out by a 13-year-old.
Yeah, that's not my handwriting. No, it was filled out by a lovely young woman who was a lefty.
Go lefties! All right, gotta love the lefties.
I particularly noted that she was a lefty because I blame that for why the line took so long, because she wrote so slow.
What? We don't write slow just because we're lefties. That doesn't make sense at all.
I'm blaming lefties for my long line.
As a lefty, I take offense.
Good,
but I do write like chicken scratch, so.
Yeah, so there you go. No good can come from lefties.
It is sinister.
So now you get your bracelet, you get your scorecard.
Mm-hmm.
Then they send you to another line on the other side of the Best Buy entrance. And then you have to wait in that line because they take you in groups of 10 because that's they only have 10 2DSs set up for the qualifier. So then I'm standing in that line for an hour.
Oh my God, really? And they're going 10 at a clip.
Yeah. So an hour in the other line, an hour in the second line. While I'm in the second line, though, they had a DJ there from Kiss FM.
Oh, okay.
Like kind of just entertaining the crowd and play music. They did and the guy from Kiss FM did some trivia, gave out like $5 Best Buy gift cards. Who's wearing, show me a picture of you in costume or like in a Mario costume or whatever. Or like whoever
turned
did
into
that
Let's
guy.
Make a Deal.
Yeah, kind of. But then at the very end, I'm at the front of the line now. Like 10 people went, and then I was like number 1 for the next group. And then the DJ, he's like, hey, he's about to wrap up because it's like 2:00 and that was his cutoff time. So he's like, hey, he's like, I've got some Sublime CDs here for anybody who wants one. And I'm like, I literally looked at him and I'm like, wow. And then he saw me do that. He's like, oh man. He's like, yeah, that took you back, didn't it? I said, yeah. I go, who the hell has Sublime CD? I go, 102.7 Kiss FM is all about current music. Like that's the thing. Like it's the latest in music. Hey, I've got Sublime CDs from 1992. So of course I grabbed one.
Of course, yeah. Which album is that?
This is the 40 Ounce to Freedom album.
Oh, okay.
Which let me tell you something. Great album.
Oh, it was a great album. Yeah,
but what the man was doing with he had like a dozen of these. I'm like, where did you dig these up?
Oh man, that is hysterical.
Apparently, Kiss FM just had some they found these and oh, get rid of this crap. All right, here you go for, because what's funny is I'm standing there with a lot of people who and there were a handful of people who were my age or older. Yeah. But a majority of the people weren't even born in 1990. They don't know who Sublime is.
That is hysterical.
Because he said Sublime, and I'm like, I react to it, and everybody behind me stone faced because they have no idea what that is.
That is awesome.
So I got a free Sublime CD.
Very good.
Which I will listen to later. So then finally get to go inside. The other thing I did, they also did a time thing. So in other words, after the first line, I was told I couldn't get online for the qualifier until 1:00.
Okay.
Because they timed them out.
Yeah.
Because there were already too many people at I think noon when I had done it. So so I went across the street, grabbed some lunch. I thought, hey, I'll carb up like I used to do before playing games. So I went to this pizza place. I got like a buffalo chicken pizza.
That looks fantastic.
It was delicious.
God, that looks good.
It was delicious for a fake pizza.
Yeah, honestly, right? That's not. I mean, that's no New York pizza, but it'll do.
No. The places here are mass produced. Like this is a place called Pieology. And all right, now wait. Now, I want you to just listen. I got to talk about this because it's absolutely ludicrous to me.
Okay.
Pieology's like claim to fame, or at least like because every store now has like an angle or whatever it is. Yeah. So, Pieology's big thing is you can create your own pizza.
Oh, it's like Piecraft out here.
Oh, okay, but
yeah,
but correct. And I remember my friend telling me this one day because there's another place out here called Pizza Rev. And she's like, "Oh, it's the greatest place. You get to create your own pizza." And I looked at her and I said, "When you order a pizza, you create it your own anyway."
That is true.
I go. This is the biggest sham I've ever heard in my life.
I never thought of that. I'm going into Piecraft like, hey, look at me. I'm gonna make my own pizza. But you
always make your own pizza. I mean, for God's sakes, when you call any pizzeria and order a pizza, you tell them what you want on it. I mean, I'm sorry. Am I the only person?
You were until now. I never thought of it like that. Oh man, screw you, Piecraft.
Yeah, exactly. It's
and
like
Pieology.
Go support your local mom and pop pizzerias because you know what? They've been doing it forever. They don't need this kitschy. Hey, you get to create your own pizza.
Do you get to put it in the oven yourself?
No.
Oh, okay, then you're right.
God, I don't know why it pisses me off.
No, I've never thought of that until now.
It's such a bait and switch,
and it's so much more money.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing too. It's like like I paid $10 for this like mini pie.
That's actually cheap. Oh, okay. It's a personal.
Yeah, it's like a miniature. It's like a miniature like a little individual pie. But like
gotcha.
I paid $10 for this. Create your own pizza. God.
I love it. Hey, there's Mario.
All right. Anyway, so like I go make my pizza and carb up because I need the energy to sit there and press buttons. I go back at 1:00 and I get online and again I'm waiting. Like I said, I was waiting on this line for like an hour. Mario came out in full Mario costume.
Good looking Mario.
I got to take a nice picture with the one and only Super Mario. And I do say with the one and only. No other Mario exists except the one.
Absolutely not. I don't know what you're talking about.
There are no others.
Nope.
There are definitely no others.
None in Times Square.
No, none at all. So then you get to the Game Boy Advance.
Is that the new 2DS one?
It's the new 2DS.
Ooh, I like that.
So they basically have just 2 tables, and 5 people are at each table, 2 circular tables, and you do your time trials. And then once you complete a time trial, you raise your hand so that the scorekeeper can come over and they write the times down.
Gotcha.
On the scorecard. What I did find funny is that the scorekeeper I had the same initials that I did, so I could have just done that.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And I could have gotten away with it too. I could have just sat there and said, "Oh, I finished the first race in 5 seconds."
It's initialed.
Exactly. So anyway, so I did my 2 races, and I did terrible. Because again, I had never played this before.
Yeah.
So like, I go through my first time trial, and I scored like 147.
Yeah,
absolutely awful. Because again, the board's empty. It's just you racing the track. Second time trial, I did a little bit better. I got 134. So my God, I shaved off 15 seconds. That's pretty damn good. Okay. Of course, when you look at the leaderboard to see who is leading for the qualifier, the number 1 person for the 13 and older, 114.797.
I mean, you were kicking butt for the 12 and under. So if you were in that race, you would have been game on.
Yeah, but I remember the 12 and under though was a different course and a different character.
I know, it's also a joke.
Yes, well, it was a bad joke.
But so still, anyway, those are that's boy.
Well, and when I was talking to people in line about the course, they were explaining to me that there's a glitch in the course. Like basically everybody's best time, they have told me, like, yeah, you can get like 118, 119 straight, but there's a glitch in the course that if you get the glitch right, you can get 114.
Really?
So I'm like, okay. I was like, I find it kind of weird though that if you're doing like a tournament thing, that you can take advantage of glitches.
I guess if it's in the software, right?
Yeah, but if it's in the software, it's in the software. So anyway, not that I'm complaining. I wasn't coming anywhere near these times because the top 10 times went from 114 to 119.
Yeah.
And the people I was talking to like online, they were like, "Oh yeah, like I've been doing this. I've been playing the game for weeks ever since they announced it to get my times down." Like the serious players, you know, a couple of guys I was talking to, they drove in from Las Vegas just to do this. And we're recording on Sunday right now. They're actually going to be there today to try and beat the 114 score that's currently up.
Huh.
So, you know, more power to them. Good luck, guys. But yeah, so that was the qualifier for it. Now, on top of the so once you completed the thing, you got a very cool Mario Kart 7 poster.
That's a very cool poster.
Yeah, and it's got a gold stamp on it that says it was the special Nintendo World Championships poster.
Oh, look at that gold foil stamp! Nice.
Yeah, nice gold foil stamp. So I got you a copy.
Oh, thank you. Very cool.
The guy was like, they were sitting on the floor, and he's like, if you want a poster, you can just grab one right there. So I'm like, okay, grab two, walk away.
Not much,
because otherwise I would have had to play again.
Yeah.
And then when I went back outside, to get a copy of the rules to take home with me. There was nobody in line anymore at this, and this was like maybe 2:30 or 2:45. And they were like, "Yeah, if you want to play again, we'll give you another wristband and go play again." And then the other line, the line to wait to play the qualifier, was also short. So I was like, "Oh, okay." I go, for another half an hour, I could have played again, but I was like, you know what? I go, I'm never going to get close, and I just wanted to play. You know,
of course,
for fun.
Just wanted to do it to do it.
Right, but then the other cool thing that they had going on there is that you were able to preview Super Mario Odyssey and the new Metroid game for the
3DS. Yeah.
3DS.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So they had 5 screens set up with Super Mario Odyssey, and they had 5 3DS setups for Metroid.
Okay.
The line for that was like literally snaking through the DVD aisles.
Oh, jeez.
So I went up to the guy and asked him, I said, well, I go, how long do people get to play the game? And he's like, they get to play for like 10 minutes.
Really?
Yep. They get 10 minutes of gameplay, which is a long time. Yeah. And then when you completed the gameplay, they gave you a Mario Odyssey poster with the gold foil stamp.
Cool.
And they gave you a Metroid poster with the gold foil stamp.
That's cool.
Now, I looked at the line.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I literally stood there and started counting by 5. It's like, all right, 10 minutes for these people, so on and so forth. I was like, I would have had to wait there for like over 2 hours.
Oh,
just to play. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I really don't have the time. And at this point, I also wasn't starting to feel well.
Mm.
It's
that pizza.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was that create your own pizza. Create your own pizza, you friggin' liars. So I tried to sweet talk the girl to give me the poster, but she wouldn't do it.
Oh, boo!
Like I just kept talking to her. I said, "Oh, it was like because I was curious about the Metroid one because I did not see where people were playing Metroid. So I was literally just asking her. I was like, where are people playing Metroid? Because I see Mario Odyssey here. I said, where's Metroid? And she's like, you have to get in that line over there if you want to play Metroid. I was like, yes, I understand that. I was like, but where is the station for Metroid? I don't see it. She's like, it's down at the end, and you have to get in line if you want to play. I was like, I got that. Thank you.
Oh, my God. I can't even imagine what it would have been like if I went in the Bronx. If you're going through this in L.A.
I know. I was like, wow. I was like, so anyway, so I did not play. I did not get those posters. But I did stand there to just get some video.
How'd the game look?
The game looks beautiful.
Oh.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and you obviously you use your hat for everything, which is really cool. But overall, it's like I don't know if you can hear it. But,
no, I can't hear it. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I'm gonna post video of it online. But you're basically running through a full city.
Yeah,
you're running through a full city, and just doing stuff. Which is really, really cool. So
that's
overall,
pretty cool.
Like,
Look at that.
It's just great to watch playing.
Yeah, that looks like the New York or New Donk City, as they call it.
Yeah, they call it like New Donk City.
Yeah.
But it's like you're on street level.
Look at that. There's bouncing off the taxis.
Yep.
So, wow, look at that. The graphics look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, the graphics are great. So the graphics are great. It's completely immersive. I'll post videos on our Facebook feed just to show the short gameplay I did record.
Huh.
But yeah, looks really, really awesome. It made me that much more excited. Like I cannot wait for this game to come out.
Totally. Just to see it, and I'm not even in person, and looking at the video that you made, I'm very happy I got it on pre-order.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the pre-order. There's no question about it. And like I said, I'm just really looking forward to picking it up. Now, I didn't get any video of Metroid. Because it was, handheld.
Because the woman was being a jerk.
Well, and yeah, thank you very much, Best Buy lady. I'm sorry, she wasn't Best Buy lady. She was the Nintendo World Championship person. So
Pauline's the mayor.
Yes. So yeah, just really cool stuff.
Very.
And then that was basically my entire experience at the expo, and then of course. Standing out in the sun for 2+ hours on, for the lines did not bode so well for me because I came home with a migraine and was pretty much debilitated for the rest of the day.
And there's your icing on the cake, folks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nintendo World Championship, for my migraine yesterday. It was extra painful.
Well, at least you got to, again, come full circle. You started with it in 1990. You came back in 2017. And... who knows? Maybe those other people, all those people will be disqualified. All their times will not count. And who knows? Yeah. Maybe you'll become number one.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure I'm going to be getting a phone call any minute now. But October 7th, the World Championship Finals are going to be taking place in New York City.
Yes.
So depending on my travel schedule, I may have to make a visit.
Mm-hmm. And if it's at night, because I got New York Comic-Con in the morning.
Oh, is Comic-Con the same day?
It's at weekends. That's Columbus Day weekend.
Wait a minute, but I thought Comic-Con was at the Javits.
Oh yeah, it's at the Javits, yeah.
So it's the World Championship. That can't be the same weekend.
Are they incorporating it into? No, I don't think it's at the Javits, is it?
Is it not at the Javits?
I don't think it's at the Javits. I think it's at the Hammerstein.
Oh, you may be right. I'm not sure, but anyway, it is going to be happening the weekend of October 7th. And let's see what their website says. Manhattan Center's Grand Ballroom.
Okay. Oh, well, not... yeah, I know. All right. Same building, different room.
Exactly. So it will be... so we'll be there during Comic-Con, unfortunately. But maybe that'll keep the place down in terms of attendance, because I may swing over and do that.
Unless it's at night. So... but either way, I'm going to be checking that out. I wonder if we can get tickets.
Oh, yeah, I think I thought it was going to be like an all-day thing.
Let's see if we can get passes.
Oh, you want to work your mojo?
I'll see what I can do.
All right. Just point them to the Retro Gamer podcast and tell Nintendo not to listen.
I was going to say, I may have to delete a couple episodes. So, oh man. Well, there we go. Anthony's foray into the Nintendo World Championship qualifiers.
All right, and for this week's Retro Records, we debuted this last week, Larry, when you weren't here.
Yeah, I liked it
with Josh, and I thought it would be a cool thing to do. And since this is such a Mario Kart heavy episode, I thought I can do a retro record for Mario Kart because, quite frankly, there are thousands of records for Mario Kart, whether it's a time trial for a board or something like that. So this week's retro record is most Super Mario Kart world records.
Okay.
So there is somebody out there who has the most Super Mario Kart world records. And as of 2016, as of March of 2016, the most Super Mario Kart world records goes to Karel van Duijvenboden.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Duijvenboden of the Netherlands.
Guten Tag. Is it good?
Yes. I'm sure I said his name wrong. I'm sorry, I butchered his name. He holds 405.
Oh my god!
Super Mario Kart world records.
That's what I can't even envision or imagine what those could possibly be. Like the weird ones at the end of that list.
Yeah, I don't have a list of the records, but it's prompting me to want to go look them up because, like I said, there are thousands because of all of the games over the course of the franchise. But one person with 405 of them.
Congratulations, sir. What's his name again?
Oh, God. Why did you do this to me? Carl von Dujvenboden.
Carl, congratulations on your world record of world records.
Yes, 405 Super Mario Kart world records. Congrats, my friend.
And this week in gaming! What do we got, bro?
All right, so we're at this point, as you heard the illustrious voice of Josh, who did it live last week, which was pretty interesting.
Man. You know, I gotta say, as much as I love the recorded one, the live ones are just super special.
The live one was interesting. And with Anthony doing so much of the heavy lifting this week, I figured I'd take over this week in gaming, and I think maybe you'll hear me more often doing some of this. So.
Why do I doubt that?
There's only so much I can do with post-production.
That's true, but maybe it is time for you to take a little bit of the research side of things.
So let's get right into it. This week in gaming, we're going to start way back in 1981 for the Apple II. I don't think I've ever owned an Apple II.
No, I never owned an Apple II either, but that doesn't mean it was a bad... I actually used an Apple II recently.
Oh, really?
Last year. Yeah, I had to use it for a scavenger hunt that I took part in.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, I had to create something on an Apple II.
So, with Apple II, I don't know if you created or played Rings of Saturn. Came out in 1981.
I did not create nor play that.
1983 in Japan, the NES version of the highly anticipated Mahjong.
Hey, you know what? Mahjong's very popular over there.
And in 1984, the DOS version of Klondike Solitaire, version 1.2.
Do you remember playing that? I loved playing
Klondike Solitaire on the computer.
Yeah, but Klondike Solitaire.
Well, I consider that solitaire. Klondike Solitaire is your traditional solitaire.
Yeah, but it's still fun.
Oh, it's awesome.
I like calling it Klondike.
What would you do for Klondike Solitaire?
Oh, good Lord.
1985 in Japan, NES, 10-yard fight. Oh, what
also known as the Famicom, for those of you who want the actual Japanese name of the system.
10-yard fight, great kind of first sports game to get introduced to, if you will, on the Famicom.
I think it was one of the first football games.
One of, yeah. At least one of the
first,
had.
I should say one of the first 8-bit.
Exactly. Commodore 64 saw its release 1986 of Ultimate Wizard.
Oh, which, by the way.
Yes.
I have a Commodore 64 on the way here from New York.
Really?
Yep. I left it there when I moved. It is on the way, and I've got hundreds of floppy disks.
You really? Oh, we got to check that out.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to break that out and then cry when I try and hook it up to a 55-inch LCD.
Oh my God! Yes.
Television.
In Japan, 1987 saw the arcade release of Street Fighter.
The first and unsuccessful.
Yeah, very unsuccessful.
Street Fighter. Huh. That one was not as popular.
Japan, TurboGrafx 16, or in Japan, the PC Engine. In 1988 saw Keith Courage in Alpha Zones.
I have no idea what that game is.
Next year is going to be the year of TurboGrafx for us. Don't worry, we'll figure out what that is.
Yeah, I know, because I'm going to track down a TurboGrafx 16. That is probably my next system now that I have a Wii coming and a Sega Saturn coming.
You have a Saturn? That's right, you do have a Saturn.
Yes, my cousin is giving me his old Sega Saturn because he said it's just sitting at home doing nothing.
It's only a matter of time before you get Shining Force?
Oh, yeah.
1989 saw Tecmo World Wrestling on the Famicom, the WCW version.
Yeah, Tecmo World Wrestling. Did one of us play that this month for Wrestling Month?
No.
We did not cover that.
No.
Okay.
No. I think I may have tried, but I don't know if it was working.
Speaking of, we're at the end of our Wrestling Month.
Yeah.
We had a special thank you to Josh and
Brandon.
And Brandon for helping us cover wrestling games every Wednesday.
Definitely.
We got some good ones in this month. We got I know I did Saturday Night Slam Masters, which was really cool. You covered a couple of NES ones.
Wrestling Challenge on the Famicom, which stunk, but Pro Wrestling on the NES. That
while you were playing WrestleMania Challenge, I was trying to message you and tell you how to tag in and out and how to choose Survivor Series mode, because there's Survivor Series mode on that game.
Yeah, that's cool.
But you were just doing one-on-ones, and I'm like, oh man, I wish Larry would reuld what I'm saying.
It's also because it was in Japanese.
That's true.
Where am I? Oh, so 1990 on DOS, version 2.5A of Dungeon.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm assuming something labyrinthy and not something
That's
like
what I'm thinking. Like
creepy,
D&D almost?
Yeah, not creepy, fetishy, dungeony.
1991 Jewel Master on the Genesis makes its way out.
Yep, one of those puzzle games.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of puzzle games. Post Tetris.
Oh, Tetris launched many puzzle games, kind of like what we've been talking about all day today. 1992, we mentioned it earlier, and this episode's very heavy on it. Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo.
Happy 25th anniversary.
1993, the Sharp X68000, Mahjong Fantasia 2.
Now, when I saw the title Mahjong Fantasia, my brain immediately went to Mahjong combined with Disney's Fantasia, which is definitely not what it is.
Uh-oh.
that would have been interesting, to say the least.
Maybe kids, check before you look.
Yes.
1994, Illusion of Gaia on the Super Nintendo. That's
That's
RPG.
another game. Yeah, that was an RPG that I never got a chance to play. I've heard good things about it.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's one of those ones that it's like, oh, it's cool, but I didn't have the time. I was too busy playing other stuff.
1995 on the Neo Geo, so the King of Fighters 95.
There you go. Not to be confused with King of Monsters.
No, not at all. I've done that before.
Yeah, King of Fighters was one of those games, like, they came out with one every year.
Yeah, which was kind of weird. It's kind of weird for a fighting game, but then again, how many Street Fighter 2s do we have? So,
like a million.
1996, Tekken 2 on the PlayStation.
Oh yeah, I remember the Tekken games really, really well.
And going back,
Tekken was one of those games I played at my college.
Oh, Tekken was, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look back on it now, it's a terrible looking game, but still fun.
Well, it's very polygon heavy.
Absolutely, very.
Like, yeah, I mean that's what.
That's what it was. Back then, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of polygons, back to the PlayStation 1 year later, 1997, Final Fantasy VII.
So here's another anniversary to say. Happy 20th anniversary, Final Fantasy VII.
Look at that.
One of the greatest RPGs of all time.
I actually have it on the PS3. I must have downloaded it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
and there's the remake coming out on PS4 and Xbox One.
True.
And I cannot wait for it. That was probably one of the, like, I'm sorry, like, that's got to be in my top 3 of best games of all time.
1998 on the N64, Bomberman Hero.
And speaking of Bomberman, I've now owned my Switch for 5 months, and Bomberman has yet to make it into the system.
I've played it at least twice.
I can't get off Breath of the Wild.
No, fair enough. 1999 also on the, we're going to stick with the N64 for a little while here. It's hard for me to say this. WWF Attitude.
WWF Attitude, one of the best at the time, like one of the
was.
best WWF games before we got
Absolutely.
WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy. But it had the largest roster at the time of like 60 guys.
Yeah, right. That was a ton of people in Attitude.
Yeah, but doing the combos for moves was just painful.
Yeah, it was very Street Fighter like with that. That was annoying.
Yeah.
Again, same with the N64. We kind of mentioned how Mario branched off besides karting. In 2000, he tried his hand at Mario Tennis.
Not to be confused with the ill-fated Virtual Boy Mario Tennis.
That's Mario's Tennis.
Oh, I'm sorry. That makes
Apostrophe
all
S.
the difference. Hashtag BB sucks, y'all.
2001, Mario gets back on the circuit with Mario Kart Super Circuit for the Game Boy Advance.
Yep, and that was the version that had all the original Super Mario Kart tracks in it, right?
Oh yeah, that game was awesome on the Game Boy Advance. That was sweet.
One day I will get it
soon. Is it on the Wii?
Might
Wii
be.
U, I mean. I wonder if it's on the Wii U Super Circuit.
All possible.
Where am I? 2001. Nope, 2002. Turok Evolution came out on the Xbox, the PS2, the GameCube, and the Game Boy Advance.
Turok Evolution. I never played the Turok games. I remember my cousin played Turok, if I'm not mistaken.
I had the first Turok on N64. I remember that. It was a good game.
Good?
Yeah, I liked it. I quite enjoyed it.
All right, cool.
2003 on Xbox. Scooby-Doo, Night of 100 Frights.
Yeah, I figured you would appreciate that.
I like
one.
that. Hey, listen, it's not wrong with good Scooby-Doo.
Well, I remember having Scooby-Doo for the Super Nintendo, and it was a painfully short game.
2004, this I own and I love this game. On the PlayStation 2, we saw Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. And what was awesome, was this the one that came with the movie? The Street Fighter 2 animated movie? I think it did. And it came
I thought the animated movie came out before 2004.
No. I meant it was bundled with the game.
Oh, got it.
Or it may have been on the game disc. And it was like the unedited version, too.
Oh, cool.
Oh, awesome.
I thought the animated version was actually pretty good.
Street Fighter 2 animated movie is fantastic. And the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection, which is pretty much the first few Street Fighter 2s, phenomenal.
Yep. Cool.
2005 on GameCube, after I'm coming off a wild wrestling weekend, we have WWE Day of Reckoning 2.
I really like the Day of Reckonings on GameCube. Both of those games I thought were really good.
Because they went back to how the games were on N64. Like with No Mercy in WrestleMania 2000.
Yep, exactly. So I feel like there's some of the more underrated wrestling games of all time because the GameCube wasn't the most popular system.
No, it wasn't. I got to break mine out pretty soon. So,
well, mine's sitting here waiting to be played.
And in 2006 on the Nintendo DS, we got Star Fox Command.
The first Star Fox I ever played was on N64. I never played the original one.
I'm shocked at that one.
Until recently. Like later on, I wound up playing it, but I never played it. I never had it for Super Nintendo. But now, Star Fox is coming back big and bad.
Yeah, man. So you'll be playing both those Star Foxes 1 and 2 on the Classic.
Oh, no question about it. Although that Star Fox 2 is supposed to be very similar to 64 because they built the 64 version off of that.
Very true.
So
there we go. So that's This Week in Gaming.
Very well done, Larry. I approve. You managed to do that and not mess it up.
And I will edit you out of the entire segment.
Thank you.
So, and that's going to be another week of the Retro Gamers. Boy, man, what a week! I'm telling you. And
there was a lot of retro happening on the LA side of things.
No, there certainly was. Don't worry, I have some stuff next week because kind of we're going to do this the first ever teaser on the Retro Gamers because I got my hands on a Hyperkin Retro Hyperkin Retron HD.
Yeah, definitely want to hear about that, and then we can throw a couple of teasers because I know I promised a few weeks ago that I was gonna live stream the ending of Breath of the Wild.
Oh yes,
because I'm there.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to take a stab at it this week if I can. I'd also love to live stream a little bit of Night Trap when I get the chance.
Oh God, Night Trap! I forgot you got that. Those bastards.
Yeah, Night Trap arrived, and if I have time, I'll try and live stream it at some point this week. Maybe even today if I can sit down and do it. Although I kind of want to play it at night when it's dark out. Not that it's scary at all, but I feel like it just goes with the mood. So a little Night Trap at night.
Oh man.
And I don't know. We don't have anybody streaming wrestling game this week to close off August.
No, I guess not. Oh yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, I guess August ends.
We had 5 Wednesdays this month.
Oh, all right. And then we've got to figure out what we're doing next month anyway. So.
Yeah, well, we'll figure that out by next week's episode. But maybe one of us will take up the mantle on Wednesday and just close out the month.
Maybe.
But this has been definitely a full week.
Definitely. Speaking of the live streams again, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Brandon, for chipping in with that. Josh, Victims and Villains. Brandon from the PS Midnight Cast, which I was on last week. So if you want to download that episode. And thank you, Josh, for last week for filling in, helping me out while I was away, helping Anthony out big time. And
yes,
of course,
thank you very much, Josh. It was a lot of fun having a different host for
it was a great episode. It's a different feel. I like that. It's kind of like when Jay Leno subbed for Johnny Carson.
Yes, well, but there's that.
Jay Leno's not taking over this show.
No, he's not. But
and
you know what? Give him time.
And you can follow us, of course, our website, theretrogamers.com, on Instagram at @_retrogamers, and of course, facebook.com/retrogamerspodcast. And with that, I think we're going to call it.
I concur.
All right. And I'll catch you next week.
I will catch you next week. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Definitely. And we're both going to catch all of you next week right here on The Retro Gamers.